The morning sun rose gently over a quiet neighborhood in Dallas, Texas, painting the small brick houses in shades of gold. And inside one of those modest homes lived Daniel Harper, a single father and janitor who worked at a nearby elementary school, a man whose hands were rough from years of mopping floors and fixing broken lockers, but whose heart was softer than anyone could imagine. Every single day before heading to his second shift, he would stop by the children's ward at a local hospital because of a promise he had made to a little girl named Lily Thompson, a 7-year-old child battling a rare blood disorder that kept her weak and pale, yet somehow always smiling. Daniel had first met Lily when her mother collapsed at the school where he worked, and he had helped call the ambulance. Later, he learned that Lily's mother had passed away, and the girl had no close family except a distant guardian who rarely visited. Something in Daniel's chest refused to ignore her loneliness, so he began visiting her during his lunch breaks, bringing coloring books, small stuffed animals he bought from discount stores, and sometimes homemade soup cooked carefully in his tiny kitchen. The hospital staff often wondered why a tired janitor would spend his little free time sitting beside a hospital bed telling stories about brave princesses and astronauts. But Daniel never needed applause. He only needed to see Lily's tired eyes light up when he walked through the door. That particular day was bright and clear, the kind of day when children should have been playing in parks under the wide Texas sky. Daniel had just returned home after a long night shift. His 8-year-old son, Noah, was finishing his homework at the kitchen table while the scent of pancakes filled the air. Daniel moved slowly because exhaustion clung to his shoulders, yet he smiled as he flipped the last pancake and told Noah that they would visit Lily together later because she had a treatment scheduled and might be scared. Noah nodded seriously because he had grown fond of Lily too, calling her his brave sister. As they sat down to eat, Daniel's old phone buzzed with a reminder about Lily's appointment. He checked the time and realized he needed to rest for an hour before heading back out. But before he could even stand up, there was a deep rumbling sound outside. Not the usual passing traffic, but something heavier, something that vibrated through the thin walls of the house. Noah ran to the window and froze. "Dad, there are so many black cars outside." Daniel frowned and walked over, pulling back the curtain, just enough to see 6 large black SUVs lined up neatly along the curb, their polished surfaces reflecting the sunlight sharply. Neighbors were peeking through blinds and stepping onto porches, whispering in confusion. The doors of the SUVs opened almost at the same time, and men in dark suits stepped out, their posture straight, their expressions serious. Daniel's heart began pounding because nothing in his simple life had prepared him for something like this. He quickly thought about unpaid bills or mistakes he might have made. But before fear could take control, there was a gentle knock at his door. Firm yet respectful, Daniel told Noah to stay behind him and walked to the door. When he opened it, he was met by a tall, middle-aged man with silver hair and kind but intense eyes. The man introduced himself calmly as Richard Thompson, Lily's grandfather, a name Daniel had only heard once from a nurse who mentioned that Lily came from a wealthy family estranged after disagreements years ago. Daniel felt his throat tighten as the man explained that he had been searching for his granddaughter for months after legal complications kept him away, and that he had finally discovered that a janitor had been visiting her every single day, paying for small expenses anonymously and even covering part of a medical bill by selling his late wife's wedding ring. Daniel tried to interrupt, saying it was nothing, that Lily just needed someone to sit with her. But Mr. Thompson raised his hand gently and said it was everything. He explained that he owned a nationwide healthcare corporation and had the resources to move Lily to the best pediatric specialists in the country. Yet what moved him most was not Daniel's financial help, but his presence, the consistent kindness that no amount of money could buy. Neighbors gathered quietly at the edges of their lawns, watching the scene unfold under the bright Texas sun. Daniel felt embarrassed by the attention and kept insisting he had done what anyone would do, but Mr. Thompson shook his head and said, "Not everyone does. He then surprised Daniel by asking if he and Noah would accompany Lily to a new treatment center as part of her emotional support system. All expenses covered, including a new home closer to the hospital and educational opportunities for Noah. Daniel's first instinct was to refuse charity, pride rising in his chest. But then he thought about Lily's fragile smile and how she squeezed his hand. During painful procedures, he realized this was not about pride, but about giving her the best chance to live. Tears welled in his eyes as he nodded slowly. Noah squeezed his father's hand tightly. The suited men stepped back respectfully, as if understanding that this humble man was the true giant among them. Mr. Thompson extended his hand and Daniel shook it, feeling not power but gratitude passing between them. The sunlight seemed warmer now. Neighbors began smiling instead of whispering, and Daniel understood that sometimes kindness returns in ways louder than 6 black SUVs arriving at your door. That afternoon, instead of heading to work, he and Noah climbed into one of the vehicles not as suspects or debtors, but as honored guests on a journey to secure Lily's future. And as the convoy drove away through the bright streets of Dallas, Daniel looked back at his small house, knowing that love had transformed his ordinary life into something extraordinary. And this is where the story ends, with a reminder that true wealth is measured in compassion, not money. If this story touched your heart, then please like, share, and subscribe to my channel Soul of Kindness for more inspiring stories that celebrate humanity and hope.